Okay, so it is 6 p.m. So I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum of the board of 3 board members. Board, would you like us to facilitate your meeting this evening?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Perfect, thank you. All right, since we do have Clay Jordan with ProConsult here today, we will kind of go a little bit out of order of the agenda. We will bypass the minutes and financial report at the moment and just move down to old business walls project management and then go back up. Clay, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me go to your bid and board. You had asked Clay to come to this meeting as you had questions for him regarding the bid. And I'm just trying to get to his page where the estimate is. Okay. Board, if you want to go ahead and discuss the contract questions that you had with Clay, and he can go ahead and answer any questions that you may have.
1 sec. I'm pulling up my notes right now for Clay. Hang on a sec. Hi, Clay. How are you?
Good.
Appreciate you taking some time to meet with us. Really appreciate it. Let me see. No, it's pinning. All right. Marcus, Alex, do you guys have any initial questions you want to start with, or where are you guys at?
No, I was just thinking if Clay could kind of give us an overall understanding of the proposal. That way, not only do we understand it, but the homeowners that are on the call kind of get a gist of it too.
I was going to ask the exact same thing.
That sounds good. So, ProConsult specializes, we have specialized in helping HOAs for decades now with various projects from roofing to walls to streets. The majority of our associations come to us looking for help with the streets, which is for a lot of associations, that's their number one asset. They're, where the most money goes, especially when it comes time for reconstruction. But as you guys are experiencing the perimeter walls, well, not just the perimeter walls, but also the fence walls and things like that can also cost a heck of a lot of money, especially because we have this thing that we always run into. We call it developer work. Developers, they install walls, they install streets, and it's quick. It's not up to the highest standards, and so you start suddenly seeing things happening that with the walls, you have some walls that are leaning, some that are literally loose with exposed foundation and things like that. Other things start occurring. What ProConsult does, we come in and do a full condition assessment with a goal of determining exactly what the issues are, and then setting up an initial scope to take care of those. So we cover all aspects of planning, implementation, and quality management. Important note to quality management, that involves quality control, meaning for every single project that we do, we put together a quality control program for the contractor that they have to follow so that they're basically working with an elevated level of quality. This avoids getting the wrong materials or having corners cut. And one of the most important parts of that is making sure that you actually get what you're paying for, not just 80% or 70% of what you're paying for. And then during the course of the quality management, we're performing quality assurance. That means inspections of the work in progress. So that makes sure that they're using not only the right materials, the right equipment and everything, but also the proper procedures, protocols, mixed designs, temperatures, and everything else. Just about everything that we work with is very sensitive to those type of things. And as a guideline, we use the institutions that I think are named. Yeah, they're all listed on the final page of the ProConsult proposal. ASTM International is probably the leader that sets out specifications for everything that we do. We use for perimeter walls and interior walls, we use the ASTM standards for concrete masonry units, masonry materials. And what they do is they lay out specifications, and then we go through those specifications and tailor them to meet specifically the needs of the project. And then, of course, when it's time, when everything's done, and we've done the final punch list walkthrough, and the contractor is taking care of all punch list items. Then we do the project closeout, cost tracking, making sure that you guys are being invoiced correctly, not over invoiced or anything like that, and then we all go home happy. Our goal is always to create a win-win-win situation, meaning the contractor, the client, and ProConsult, that everybody can walk away and say, "Hey, this was a good deal. We had a good time working together, and we did it successfully." Questions?
I've got a question in regards to if I've got here on your, I think it's page 14, just as far as like, liability, cost, additional costs that might be impacted, unmarked utilities. I have heard from other neighborhoods having some issues with utilities not being marked correctly. Is it advisable for us to have a review of the utilities done in the community and make sure that all of those are marked? Or is that usually not something that you are encountering in the projects that you're generally visiting in this area, in this region?
That's a very good question. So unmarked utilities, of course, whenever we're doing anything subgrade, we're working with AZ 811. They send everybody out to mark their lines, gas, electrical, Cox, and everything else. So to do and that'll be done automatically. To do any actual like GPR locating, ground penetrating radar, we use that on some projects when we're going to great depths. Usually that's like on a commercial project when we're reconstructing a parking lot and they have light fixtures in the parking lot. Then we GPR between the light fixtures because there's a very strong possibility that when those were installed, the electrical between the two was not installed according to code, down 18 to 24 inches. We want to know that before we start digging and everything, because if you don't confirm that ahead of time, it can cause a lot of issues. I think in this with the perimeter walls and the interior walls, because of the way the walls are built and the foundation of the walls, I don't think there's going to be a big issue with that. So I think we're good to go there, but there is always a possibility that we find something if a wall requires full reconstruction. I think priority one, there's not a lot as far as full reconstruction. Of course, we don't know completely at this point because there are some repairs that once we begin those repairs, if during the course of now we start doing invasive work, but during that invasive work, part of the QC and QA is gathering more information on the foundation depths and structures. there is a good possibility then that priority one increases, that we find a few other walls that are just wouldn't be worth it to do a minor repair to them when the expectation is that they're probably going to fall over in a couple of years. Yeah, that's always a concern of ours. Utilities, underground, stuff like that. Our contractors are very aware of that. One of the things that kind of scares me sometimes when we're working with interior walls, and this is something where you guys can kind of ask the community, if anyone in the community has laid gas lines in their backyard, natural gas lines. I've had it before where they run it along the back wall to get to the grill pit. So that their grill is hooked up all the time to natural gas rather than having to fool around with propane tanks. And then if that wall gets reconstructed, of course, there could be the smell of natural gas suddenly and everybody screaming in panic.
Sure. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That was the only primary question that I had regarding the contract. Appreciate it.
I think from my perspective, just trying to understand, it's a 12-month, the contract's good for 12 months. Is it, hey, whatever we can get done in that time period, or what is included in your scope, right? Because we've got a lot of walls that need repaired, as I'm sure you're aware of. And the likelihood of it getting done in 12 months, I mean, I'm not a construction pro. I don't see it happening in 12 months. Walk us through that piece of the proposal.
That's page 8. The contract proposal is valid for 60 days as long as it's a proposal. If it's signed within 60 days, then it becomes a contract agreement between the client and ProConsult. The contract agreement is valid for 12 months. That's in there to, normally it's not an issue. But I have had, I think over the last 15 years, I think it's only happened once. Unfortunately, a lot of my HOA board members are engineers, and they just love to jump in and experiment. And so I had a project that got dragged out, and this was a smaller project too. It got dragged out over a 3-year period of time. And so after that initial 12 months, I'm just basically losing money on the project. I wanted to stick with them and help them out. They had a lot of problems in the community. This was for community streets. But so that 12 months is there to make us all aware that, hey, if it goes beyond 12 months, we may have to talk about it. There's no that's more a general guideline than anything, though. There will never be any costs that come to you guys as a surprise. We could even have a Zoom meeting like this, and I could say, hey guys, look, this is going on. This was added to the scope. This would be our normal fee to do that. And then I present a change order and you guys say, nah, Clay, or yes, Clay. And then we use that as a foundation moving forward.
Okay. So with that, is your team open to doing, regular check-ins and updates, on a pre-planned basis, whether it's once a quarter, once a month? I don't know what that time frame would be, but are you guys able to give, regular updates to us to keep us in the community updated on the progress we're making and the timelines?
Oh, when we're doing a project for HOAs, we like to do when the work is actually in progress, there are email reports. Those will be sent to Brooke and then maybe Cody as well. Not the entire board, but you guys will select a board member or two, so that you guys get these email updates on a daily basis. Then we like to send an actual report every 1 to 2 weeks, depending again on the scope of work and how much is accomplished. And that report goes into detail so that you know, hey, this is what they've accomplished, this is what they've completed, the stages. These are the stages that we still have to complete. It also highlights any issues that we ran into. So, Alex, if we do find a gas line or something like that, and that's you guys will hear about that in that daily email report, but also that's included in that regular report, in that weekly or biweekly. I also recommend to, and I would say most of our HOAs take advantage of this, is having ProConsult come in annually to do an assessment. This is a simple assessment. It doesn't, there's not a big cost to it. Um, no guarantee that this figure would work, but the last annual assessment that I did focused strictly on the streets for a reasonably sized community, and that only cost them 3,200, but it gave them an update on scope and costs and issues and long-term planning. We're always trying to help HOAs plan out at least 12 years for scope and cost.
Okay, good to know. One more question on my end, then I'll come up for air. Obviously, you said a lot of the walls that are needing work done are also, the backyard walls, and one side's HOA, one side is the backyard wall to a homeowner. How does your team, or is it focus, or is it us communicate with those owners, right? Let them know, hey, here's the plan, here's the updates. Does your team work, communicate with the owner directly, or does that come through us and focus and then to the owner? What is that communication path?
The person that is most skilled at that and the best person to do that job is Brooke.
Okay.
That's always the property manager. It's good that it comes from someone that they know and love, and someone that understands their situation and their needs. But we do always want, when someone's property is being impacted, we want that homeowner to know.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I think having a single point of contact, as focus or the board or whatever, that makes sense. So, okay.
Yeah. I used to, I've tried a few times in the past to have contractors take that over. And bless their hearts, contractors are so good at what they do. But that's the actual field work when it comes to other things as far as communication. They can get pretty weak on communication. So a lot of things fall to the wayside when we ask the contractor to do something like that.
Okay.
One other thing that did just pop up as you were asking that question, Cody, as far as the client responsibilities, to what extent do those responsibilities, to what extent do we have flexibility on those responsibilities in certain situations, such as making sure that the site obstructions are out of the way? When we're talking about walls, we're talking about two property owners, more than likely in these situations. And while we can make sure that the communal areas are available and open and not obstructed, and granted, we will communicate with homeowners that those areas need to be cleared. In the event that they are not, and there is contention or other issues, obstructions that are preventing you guys from doing the work, what is the extent of flexibility that we have there before the contract is considered violated, or that we have violated the contractual agreement that we have with you guys?
Is that question for me, Alex?
It is.
Yeah, and we always have to be very careful, and that's where Brooke and I will work together very closely, is to make sure that everyone's informed, not only the homeowners who are impacted by a particular scope, but the entire community and of course the board. Because if we have a contractor, and it happens from time to time, a contractor will show up and there's something in the way. Someone is getting a new air conditioning, a new HVAC unit, and there's a crane and stuff like that. And they'll work around them where possible. What we want to avoid, and that's why we're very diligent about it, we want to avoid having them have to cancel a day because that could fall back on us as a mobilization cost for them. Mobilization costs aren't huge, typically they'll be maybe 1,200, something like that, but I'm kind of cost tracking and stuff is part of what we do, making sure that you guys are not overspending, making sure that you guys aren't paying for something where you don't gain anything from it. And that would be a perfect example, so.
How far out say we got a section wall we're going to replace, how far out is that typically scheduled and how accurate, hey, are those dates going to be?
Okay, that's a good question because accuracy of it really depends on the scope of work.
Okay. Let me give you the context of why I'm asking that first, and Brooke, maybe you chime in yours. Ideally, I think, and obviously Marcus, obviously we got to talk through it, but we're going to work on a section of wall that impacts owners. I think it'd be great to obviously beforehand we're going to let them know, go over, hey, here's what's going to happen. Here's the time frame when we're going to start, and hopefully have the job completed if all goes well. This way, everyone has ample time to move stuff or get ready, answer any questions and whatnot. I feel like it's very important to make sure we're very ahead of that and we over communicate so everyone has time to be prepared.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's very important not only that they get the dates, but they get specific addresses and that they receive aerial maps that are showing the areas, and that a lot of that the contractor will also contribute to. When it comes to streets, when we're doing streets, whether it's maintenance or reconstruction is when we tear them out completely and replace them. Those dates are pretty rock solid unless they get rained out or something like that. When it comes to concrete, same thing. They could get rained out. There are certain conditions where the contractor may want to continue working, but I'm going to say no because it would compromise the mix design, the appearance of the finished product, or something like that. But with concrete, we have had over the last couple of years sometimes issues with material. So getting the right material, we've all heard about the supply chain issues. I think that's kind of leveling out now. I think we're going to be fine. We're going to see things smooth out. And in fact, I just had lunch with one of my contractors a couple weeks with one of my concrete contractors a couple weeks ago, and he kind of verified that his material suppliers are getting to the point where they're more reliable. So those dates are when we set dates, we're all highly motivated to keep those dates. There's always something that can happen. But most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time we'll get to stick to those dates. I typically want to give the residents notifications at least 2 weeks before any work begins. And even better if we can do it like 3 or 4 weeks out so that nobody's scheduling anything that would interfere with it.
Hey Clay, to Cody's question, how far out are you guys right now? If the board was to agree to terms, how far out are you before you could begin construction?
So there's a lot of work to do on our part before we get to the construction stage, from the assessment to writing up the scope and standards agreement. As far as the contractors go, concrete contractors are doing a lot of work right now in December, and they were doing a lot of work in December and January. I typically don't allow them to do any of my projects in December and January because of the cold temps. Sometimes it could get into like mid-February, but they're still knocking it out for other projects. But the concrete contractors are typically about 6 weeks out. Okay. Just as an average, they're about 6 weeks out. So once once we get all our ducks in a row and all the playing pieces in place, and we give them a signed contract, at that point they would sit down. In fact, Brooke and I would sit down with them eventually too, and we talk about scheduling, and we could expect something about 6 weeks out from that.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the company ProConsult? How long you guys have been in business? How long you've been here in the East Valley doing projects, and any recent projects here in the East Valley?
So I've been in business helping HOAs for about 30 years now here in the Valley. And I have experience working in two extremes. One is in Germany. You guys know what the weather is like in Germany. It's very cold and snowy. And then the other one, these are the two primary locations, and then the other one is basically in the Southwest region. Because I'm based here in Arizona, the majority of our work is done in Arizona and in the Valley. I do have projects in Page. I have projects in Tucson. I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm getting old or whatever, but when Tucson calls, it's a little far for me. I do projects I just completed a project for an HOA in Colorado that was done fully remotely, which because of our program, because of the input from the Project Management Institute and the way that we do things, we can do some projects in a case like that very successfully remotely. That just means that we have experts that live in the area that go to the site for us and follow my instruction and about things that they're doing. But as far as the work that we've been doing, most of it has been in the Valley, in Phoenix, in the greater Phoenix area. I would say we do, depending on the size of the projects, we do probably 12 to 15 smaller projects that are more in the line of maintenance, and then maybe 5 to 6 larger projects that go in the direction of reconstruction on an annual basis.
Thank you, Clay.
Or do you have any additional questions for Clay?
I'm good. Thank you, Clay. Appreciate it.
I'm good. Yeah, Clay, appreciate you coming to talk to us. Really do.
Hey,
Clay, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, okay, I appreciate it, guys. I enjoyed speaking with you, and now I have to look for the leave button.
Lower right.
Lower right. There it is. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Clay. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
All right. Let's jump back up to our approval of minutes, and we'll work our way back down, and we can discuss in greater detail if you'd like regarding the walls. So first on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from December 11th.
I motion.
Thank you, Marcus.
A second.
Thank you, Cody. Any board discussion on the motion? Any homeowner discussion on the motion? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the financials. Armin, I will give you screen sharing power.
Okay. All right, these are the financials for November 30th. This is the balance sheet. I'll go over briefly the highlighted areas. So in operations, we have $90,805 in our bank accounts for reserve. We have $725,000 586. Accounts receivable assessments, that's assessments owed by homeowners to the HOA, 22,377, excuse me. And then there's a lot of other little receivables, late fees, HR, collection, fines, etc. That's 18,583. On our income statement, I like to highlight the actual versus budget year to date. So again, this is the 11 months into the year, and I've highlighted the budget versus actual. So on income, we're 46,587 above budget and income. Don't get too excited about that because we don't budget for most of these categories. Late fees, collection costs, the fines, those are not budgeted for, and those are actually a receivable on the homeowner's account. So late fees and fines, as you're well aware, board, goes on the homeowner's account. For other, these are other income that the HOA gets. We also don't budget for that, but it also has typically an offsetting expense in the expense side, and I'll point that out. In our common area, that's playgrounds, fences, and walls, we're actually significantly below budget by 5,881. And you can see, we had some minor fence repair budget that was not used, and wall repair budget was not used. And we did go a little bit over budget in playgrounds. In community, which is meetings and legal, we are significantly over budget in that category. You can see that's mostly all from legal, a little bit from meetings. So we're 29,000 and change over in meetings, and 3,700 and change over, in legal, and then 37 in meetings. Insurance, every month we talk about the insurance one, but this is now a year old almost. The insurance got renewed at a much higher rate than budgeted, and we've paid that. That's the 59,000 versus the 46,000, so versus 13. So we're 46,000 above budget insurance. Landscaping, almost right on, and we're talking that's less than a 1% difference on $200,000. So landscaping is looking pretty good. Operations, I'll go to the next page. We're 17,000 over in operations, but you can see that's in those others that have offsetting income. So a lot of the other income offsets the clerical. The past due statements are not budgeted for an expense, and the collection charges that also you saw on the income side.
Harmon, for the clerical, does that include the stuff that was mailed out for the elections and stuff last year?
Clerical is the mailings, and all the elections are in that.
That's what I thought.
Correct.
And this is November of 24's budget, yeah, just to confirm. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Yeah, so it's 45 days ago.
Yep.
And miscellaneous, a little bit above budget, miscellaneous by almost $2,000. Repair and maintenance, significantly below. You can see that the repair and maintenance line, miscellaneous repair, has not been utilized to budget. Reserve contribution, that's actually an expense, but it's the funds that go from the checking account to the reserve account. So that's your monthly savings that you're putting away in your reserves. And we should be on budget because we manage and put those funds from your operations to your reserves every month. So there's no variance there. Taxes, we talked about this previously. The property taxes were not budgeted for. So we had a big hit on the property taxes. And typically the property taxes in an HOA are very low, but in certain areas of the valley, you're in a special water district. So you're paying for other areas that property tax sometimes gets, like water districts, etc.
Armin, were those?
Yeah.
So do those property taxes, are those reoccurring annually? Or is it they just kind of showed up? I'm just trying to figure out why they weren't budgeted for on the property taxes.
It was a catch up also. So the property taxes with your
previous management were not paid.
Yeah, I'll say your property taxes, including the water, we were paying those. That's why we did have some budget for it you can see, that was a 33, not, excuse me, they have budget for it, but we got caught up in previous management, didn't pay previous taxes. So we did a catch up of all your property taxes and a search of some other parcels. So it was an unexpected expense.
So Harmon, we're caught up 100%. There's no more water back tax.
Correct. There's no more. Yeah, we made sure we looked at every single tract. You have a lot of small tracts, so we went and did property tax search on those.
For sure.
Electric, we're a little under budget in that, so that's nice. And water, the only reason it's under budget is because we received the invoice. It's kind of a strange timing. We pay water quarterly to Anderson Property Management, and we get the invoice at the end of the quarter for the full quarter. So we're not really under budget. We're going to be, probably as close to budget as you can get. But we have not had the Q4 added in, and the Q4 budget is included here. So we get it in December, but we really should post it, in October for Q4. So that one looks a little strange.
Got it.
So given our expense, you can see our expense is significantly over by 83. Take into account that we have offsetting income, as we talked about. So net, we're $37,218 negative to budget. And think about all those other little categories where I said, high and low, and especially some timing ones like the water. So that's a quick little overview. Board, do you have any questions?
I have a few, if that's okay. So just to clarify the bad debt under other receivable, could you define what that actually is?
That was a write-off. I don't know it specifically, but if we have to write off something, like you can see here's $10. So if there was a income to the HOA and it was deemed a write-off or reversed, it becomes a negative income.
Okay. The second thing, the playground expenses. Whom are we paying for those playground repairs or maintenance, and where can we get a report on the services that have been or maintenance that has been done on the playgrounds?
Brooke?
It's HOA playground. Is it Tot Lot Services or HOA playgrounds? Hold on, I think it's actually Tot Lot Services.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, Sam, I think it is Tot Lot.
I think it's Tot Lot. Let me just double check.
Do they send us an invoice with a detailed breakdown of the services that they're rendering?
They do.
They do. They do inspection reports. And I will
It's
start.
Tot Lot. It's Tot Lot Caring.
Yeah, I'll start sending them over. The previous board did not review them, but I will get them over to you.
Board, I'll give you a reminder. When you log into the website, because you have board access, you can review invoices, and there is a sort. You can actually sort by a general ledger code. So if you want to see all the playground, which is code 85100, all the invoices for whatever date range you put in, you can actually put in, I want to see the playground GL code for this year, and it'll just list all the invoices, and the actual scanning, the image of each invoice is there for you to look at.
Perfect.
Do we have a contract with them, Brooke?
Yes, and they're very inexpensive.
Can you put that on the portal so if we want to look at that, we can?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I can see a couple reasons why they're very inexpensive just based off of the look of the playgrounds. I'll just say that, but there's some room to improve.
I was there the other day. I was thinking the same thing. And so, Brooke, they're just maintenance or inspection, or what exactly is their
So
role?
they will inspect per the guidelines that are set forth for tot lots and then report to us if there's any issues that need to be replaced.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily the grounds of the playground, it's the structure itself and the canopy and whatever, right?
Correct, to make sure that you guys don't have any liability issues, things like that. It's not anything
It's not
about
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It's just to make sure that something isn't wrong with your playground, and for a child, if they got hurt, and it's a liability to the HOA.
Right. Okay.
And
Go Oh, I'm sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Marcus. I'm looking it up, what I was asking. So
Harmon, I had a question. I was going through the bank statements, and we're not talking crazy money here by any stretch, but I noticed that the SunWest money market accounts, we've got a significant amount in both those accounts, from the gated portion and the normal portion. We're only earning like about 1% on those funds. We have another, and that's with SunWest. Capital One is, I think, around 3.5%. We have an account with Capital One. Why are we not all in Capital One for those money market accounts?
Yeah, Capital One is
$80,000
a savings account, and the other is the money market. The previous board had the money in the money market because it was staged for the wall repair, but it's up to the board where you want to put those funds in: CDs, money market, and savings.
I think we're only talking maybe extra grand a month, but right here, right now, every dollar counts. So it's something that
Absolutely
we can discuss. So.
Sure.
We can definitely move money. We do always ask that the board does keep one money market account at SunWest, because if there was ever an issue where we needed to move funds from money market to operating, it's a click of a button instead of having to contact Capital One. So.
But we can move whatever you like over.
Yep. You can put it in CDs as well. That's an option to you guys as well.
good to know.
Okay, I will reclaim host. Okay, so then we are moving. I will need a motion to accept the financials as presented, subject to audit at the end of the year.
Motion.
Thank you, Cody.
I second.
Thank you, Marcus. Any more board discussion? Any homeowner comment on the motion?
I will let me make one more statement just to remind all the homeowners that these financials and all the previous financials monthly are posted on the website for homeowners to view.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, seeing no hands, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on back to the walls. The ProConsult bid. There is a lot of ducks in the row, to even before we get to construction. If you were to accept the proposal from ProConsult, he would then review your assessment that's already been completed, draw up your scope, then we go out to bid. He gets all those bids, reviews them, makes sure they're all apples to apples, then present to the board to decide on a contractor. So we're looking at several months before we even get to a contractor.
If I may, one of the board members, I think maybe it was Marcus, pointed out it's a 12-month contract and asked Clay, and he said 12 months plus, whatever you need. I think this is a significantly long project with so many unknowns. We have no idea what the expense is going to be at this point, that maybe we go back to him and ask for a 36-month contract with maybe a tighter scope of work, so he's not working for 36, but he's going to do the scope of work and the RFP, and then you're going to get bids, and you might decide to do a small section in 12 months and then more in 24 months. And I think the amount of hours he'll put in is the same of doing them all in 12, but you might want to leave yourself some wiggle room and do it over a longer period of time.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that as well. I was tempted to ask about maybe we just look at the most priority need section, start there, get the scope, and then go from there. But I like your idea better, Herman.
I think he'd be willing. Since we've done with him before, he's willing to do that. I think he has to look at the whole, how many hours and days and months of work it'll be, and I think we're still in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Have you guys done much work with ProConsult in the past?
Yeah, we've done a few projects with him, streets, and I did drainage stuff up in Paradise Valley with him.
What is involved with getting to this point with a consultant company? Is there a lot of work, or is it, what does it take to get to this point with a scope of work from a company like this, from you guys?
Not sure of the question, because we're here where we're at right now. So mean what's going to take for the next step, or
No,
how much work did it
say
take to get to where we're at?
Yeah, how much work does it take to get to where we're at today, right? If we started this today, we didn't have ProConsult set up to get from zero
a
to
year.
this proposal.
You're 2.5 years into this right now, but
In
1 year was stall.
In a perfect world, yeah. If it was, no
If we were
interruptions.
If you were saying right now, hey, let's look at walls and start the job, yeah, a year, because it took 6 months to get the engineering study you have. So you got to count that. So we went out, the previous board went out and got that gigantic, book engineering study, and then we take the engineering study, we hand it to the project manager, and from that they're going to do an RFP, get bids, present the bids to you. Then the board makes decisions on the financials and the bids, and then you decide what contractor, and they now manage that project to completion for us. So
Okay.
we've done the preliminary work.
And the reason I ask is, obviously, I know when we asked last meeting, there's limited options off whatever site you guys use, right? The other one, they're the ones who did the wall study, so that's a conflict. Is do we want to look for other options just to make sure we're bringing the best path, choice foot forward, whatever. I just don't know, right? If that's a year out, it takes that long. I think there are other project management companies out there. Are they validated? Do they work? I don't know that. I'm just wondering if that's something we should consider, or, I mean, obviously ProConsult, seems like they got their stuff together. So that's where
I'll let Brooke answer that, because she did talk with other candidates here and try to get other bids for you.
Yeah, I did try. I contacted another company, Frank Civil Construction Consultants. They are drainage and streets only. They would not take on walls. I asked a couple of contractors if they knew some other project management, and they said for the HOA scope, Clay's your guy. And I said, okay.
That's fair. I appreciate you doing that. Okay.
I am curious if there is apprehension or an avoidance of doing projects for walls and HOAs, given the lack of available project management firms. Though, given the scope of the project and the length, if we're talking about 36 months potentially. While I do, I personally very much appreciate the amount of the repertoire that has been established between you guys and ProConsult. It seems important that we have more than one official bid for this project before moving forward. That's just the inclination that I have. If it is genuinely that difficult to find a project management firm that will do this sort of work, then say so, and I will, I'll dismiss the idea altogether. But I feel like, given the breadth of this, that it does warrant a little bit more work on our end.
So I just happened to, I haven't been on AACM in about a week and a half. And I just went on there, and it looks like there's another one that has popped up, so I can reach out to them.
Okay, that'd be great.
I've never heard of this group, but I will reach out to them.
I mean, what do you, Cody, Marcus,
So,
what are your thoughts on this? Like,
yeah, I'll chime in real quickly. I did some quick Googling last week. It's been kind of a crazy few weeks for me, but I came up with a number of different project management companies that I couldn't tell you if they will do walls or do HOAs, but they are large scale project management companies that I was intended to reach out to. Again, I just had too much personal stuff going on the last few weeks. Happy to send it over, Brooke, and maybe you can take a look, and you might have a different eye that says, oh yeah, their website says they might do it, or not a chance. At least we can narrow it down to Alex's point. At least want to know, hey, homeowners, look, there really is only two options in the world for us to use. I would agree with Alex.
Okay. Yep, if you want to send them over to me, I'll send some emails over and go from there. And I'll look at this new one that just popped up on AACM, because I've never heard of them before.
Maybe elaborate what AACM is.
Oh, sorry. It's Arizona Association of Community Managers. It's
the Industry Association for Arizona.
yeah.
Brooke, while you're doing that, do we want to have ProConsult revise the proposal to the 36-month, kind of like Harmon suggested?
Yeah,
Just
we
run
can
them
do
in
that.
tandem?
Yep.
I like that idea, given Brooke's comment, she mentioned, we've already got more things ahead of us just to get to the, beginning stages of it. So at this time, I think it's a good idea to get a second look.
Okay, perfect. All right, Cody, if you wanted to send me over that information, and I will look at those options as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll do it as soon as the meeting's over.
Okay, perfect. All right, moving on to landscape.
Okay, I'm going to, actually, I'll stay for landscape because I did go on the drive with Marcus and the landscaper. So I'll hang out for a little bit.
Okay, perfect. I don't know, Marcus, did you want to give just a little
Kind of synopsis.
thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, I went on a ride along with Harmon and Gary from Geno Landscape. I want to say it was the 29th of December. Is that right?
Yes.
Spent a couple hours in the car with them. Shocked at how much work actually goes into, maintaining our community every day, every week. Notice some areas that I think we can improve on for sure. And that's something the board and I are going to talk through. But all in all, I think, and maybe the residents know this, maybe they don't, but Gary is actually a Greenfield Lakes resident himself. I think he's been in the community since 2010. Really nice guy, genuine guy, and he's the Christmas house. If you guys haven't seen, I can't remember what the cul-de-sac is. Is it Saratoga? I can't remember, but he's on the north side of Warner in a cul-de-sac, and he's got so much Christmas stuff in his front yard. It's wild. But he loves Christmas and he loves Santa Claus apparently. So really neat. Saw lots of eye-opening things. Everything from walls to Tillis and ripping up some of our common areas, not putting it back the right way. Weeds here, weeds there, but conflict in between HOA, supposed to maintain or golf course maintain. So we're working on that stuff. We're trying to figure out the best resolution for that. The whole goal was for us to get a better understanding of where we sit now and what are we going to do to get it not necessarily turned around, just get things looking better on a more regular basis. And not to say Gary hasn't been doing great work, but now we know where we're at, and we're certainly going to try to make improvements and make it even better than what it is today. So it was a good 2 hours and a good ride along with both Harmon and Gary.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus. That was awesome.
So you do have a tree trimming bid from GNL Landscaping. I did ask if he had a map of the community, and he did not. Did you review the trees, Marcus, when you guys were on your?
We reviewed a couple individual trees, but not quote unquote all trees that needed to be trimmed. A lot of times we discussed why a tree was taken down or why it wasn't replanted with the same type of tree. So we didn't get on all those specifics. Again, it was 2 hours and we filled it up. But I know more time is definitely needed. But no, we didn't get into those specifics.
Okay.
Hey, Brooke, if we put together just kind of a quick sheet for him that just, we numbered the common areas of the big areas and said, hey, every time you submit an invoice, can you just indicate which area this is located in, section 1, 2, 3, or 4, or whatever? Do you think that's too granular, or do you think Gary would do it?
So to my knowledge, Gary's already operating with 7 zones. So if we just have him outline what zones or what number, then he can send us the invoice for zone 2, zone 4, and we know where those are. I think, to my knowledge.
Okay. That just something so we can, just get a little bit better area. I mean, HOA is a big area, and just having a little bit of that I think would be helpful, at least make me feel better.
Okay, I can ask him to add the zones on the invoice of where the issue is.
Board, do you want to get that information before we approve this estimate?
The only reason that I would be apprehensive of anything, which I'm not really at this point, is to vet or verify the quantity of trees. But I mean, it's the tree trimming, it's the maintenance of the existing trees. So I don't think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we've already put this off a couple months.
Mhm.
Longer you wait, more of a problem trees become. So I'm comfortable with it. If you guys are pending on the back end, Brooke, going forward, we can try and work out the whole, hey, put the zones on the invoices, detail.
Okay.
I agree. Heaven forbid a strong winter storm comes through and knocks a couple over, so.
Yep.
Okay. If you want to move forward with the tree trimming bid, then I would just need a motion in a second.
I'll motion that.
Thank you, Alex.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cody. Any more board discussion on the motion? Just a reminder to homeowners, the only time a homeowner is able to speak is when there is a motion on the floor regarding and before the board goes to a vote. Okay, so is there any homeowner comment on the current motion of the tree trimming? Okay,
You do have one hand up, Brooke.
I do. Michael, is your comment on the current motion?
Actually, it was on the previous one. I couldn't figure out how to ask the question on the ProConsult, the walls.
There was no motion made on that. They
Oh,
didn't
there
accept any.
wasn't. Okay.
No, there wasn't any bids accepted.
What
or
about
anything.
on the budget? Was there a motion on that? Can I make a comment on that or a question?
Financials, there was a comment, there was a motion.
Would it
Go
be
ahead.
okay if I ask a question on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you guys for what you do. I know you guys don't get paid for this, and you guys put in a lot of hours, and I'm very appreciative. We just recently purchased a house in the community, and I just wanted to tell you guys thank you. It's our first time joining. So
Welcome.
I am very appreciative of all you guys do. And same with you, Brooke and
Thank you.
Harmon. I know you guys put in a lot of hours as well. So thank you, first of all. The question I had was, I noticed there was a large amount of legal fees. What was that associated with? I'm just curious.
There's
Sorry,
a
we're all
lot.
we're all kind of chuckling a little bit. It's been an interesting year, Mikkel. Brooke, you guys, Alex or Brooke, want to take this? You guys want me to take a stab at it, or who wants to?
Go ahead and
Is it Michael? Is it Michael or Mike?
It's Michael, but I go by
Michael. Okay, Michael. I don't know if you want to give me a call tomorrow and we can discuss offline because there's a lot of backstory.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I didn't realize there was a lot of history there, but yeah, that's fine. And then the other thing I was just going to make a quick comment on the ProConsult is that I agree that I think that we should try. It was such a huge expense and such a long engagement. I think that it would be in our best interest to try to get multiple bids and make sure that this is something, even if it does take a little longer, right, that we really vet them out, that we contact their references, the previous HOAs they've worked with. Just make sure. Also, I would just like to ensure that we don't have any relationships with anybody that's maybe proposing this or anything like that. I don't know the history there, but in our other HOA that we own a house for, there's been some issues with that kind of stuff, and so yeah, those were the main comments. But again, thank you guys. That's all I have right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Welcome to the neighborhood, man.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, so then with no other comment on the current motion, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to say goodnight, board. Good job, Rick. You're in good hands with Brooke, and I'm available to you anytime you need me. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Simon.
All right, so then moving on to the committees, we did send out a notice to homeowners. We did go ahead and get one volunteer for the community engagement newsletter. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the paint palette. Ford, how would you like to move forward?
Nice. I think first, just want to say thank you to everyone who volunteered and put their name in the hat. Truly appreciate it. The goal of the communities is to try and bring in more community engagement and, get the feedback from the community. It's the whole idea behind it. So we do appreciate it. To that end, what do you guys think? I think we definitely got enough of the paint palette committee.
I think that this is a resounding yes, that we need to have this. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that we had this voluntary feedback here from the community tells us that there's definitely interest. So I think we should personally. The community engagement, I really wish that there was more interest in that. That being said, the one that we received, I'm happy to establish a line of communication with whomever is interested. I don't know if having a board member as a chair and one other person for community engagement is sufficient for what we had proposed, which was opening this up for like being able to plan for community activities and newsletters and all of that stuff. Can we extend this maybe 30 days and send out another request for volunteers?
We can. That is definitely up to the board. You do need to also make a decision on how many members you want on your committee. Committees are usually 3 to 5, um, including the chair.
Makes sense. Yeah, I definitely agree for the community engagement. I definitely think, one owner and a board member that doesn't really make sense. But at the same point, I think, there's definitely some valuable, Dana is a valuable asset. And I think we could definitely, like you said, Alex, open up some direct line of communication to see if we can get going, especially as we get a newsletter and stuff going. I'm going to dovetail while we're on newsletters. As we get going into that, one of the sections that, I think where we could really get some good use out of is I actually spoke with Scott Anderson, who also is the owner of the golf course, along with Diana. And one of the things we talked about was getting information about the course, right? What they're doing, how they're evolving, what they're doing to better, the course, the desert scape, the red rock we're all seeing, and getting that in the newsletter. That kind of communication, or if they're going to overseed, giving us a heads up, and vice versa, kind of really getting a good two-way communication. So I'm really wondering if that's something we can really hone in on for the time being until we can get more people on that space.
Yeah, I really would hate to let that committee go, given the amount of verbal interest and written interest that we received in the past 12 months, almost, for that type of function. Seems reasonable that we extend this and pass the net out again.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, on the amount of board, or I'm sorry, the chair committee members, is it okay? Like right now on the paint palette, I'm counting here 6 that are 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 5 plus 1. That's the a board member as the chairperson. Can it be 6? And then just the chairperson, the board member is the tie-breaking vote, like it would be if we had a even vote cast on a board itself or something.
So, I mean, you can have 6 because technically they're not really making any decisions if you wanted to go that way because the chair brings all the the paint palette
Good Lord.
to the board. Thank you, Marcus. And then the board then votes. So if you want to do 6, you can.
Okay.
I mean, they all are willing to do it. I'd hate to exclude one just because.
Yeah.
So they all put their name in the hat. I'd love to have them, have their voice heard for sure.
If I'm actually reading Matt's statement there, that seems perfectly relevant for the topic as well. Yeah, I'd say let's bring all 6 in, more the merrier.
Okay,
Some
and
great feedback.
who wants to be the chair?
Either of you guys want to run point on that one, or what are you guys thinking?
I'll do it. Sounds good.
One of my biggest pet peeves is painting. I'm not a painter. I don't like to paint. I don't even want to be around paint.
Okay. So then I would need a motion to accept all members that applied for the paint ballot committee be accepted with Alex as the chair. And then, yeah, so I need a motion and a second.
I motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Cody. Any more board discussion?
So then the community engagement is going to go back out in another email to the community, and then next meeting we'll pick it back up with hopefully more names, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any homeowner comment on the current motion? Not seeing any hands. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. So the way that a paint palette committee would work is that there is specific HOA representatives that are assigned for Sherman-Williams and Dunn-Edwards. So we would either contact whichever one you would like to use, Sherman-Williams or Dunn-Edwards. We'd contact them, advise them that you're looking at updating your paint palette. Please give us suggestions. We would then provide that to the paint palette committee to go through, discuss, pick colors, and then present that to the board. The committee does if they meet at a regular scheduled time every month, every week, those meetings do need to be noticed and homeowners are able to attend. If they are ad hoc meetings, no notice is needed, but minutes do have to be kept.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. I will then send an email out to these residents advising that they have been appointed to the painting committee.
And thank you again to all those owners.
Yep.
Okay, and then I will send out another email regarding the community engagement / newsletter committee. Board, it is 7:07. Do you want to continue on with the agenda or how would you like to move forward?
What do they have left?
We got meeting signs, frequency, and then comments. What do you think?
You know, we had to put all these off last month. I'd like to get through them. I don't think it'll take too long if you guys are open to it.
Okay.
Maybe we move meeting signs to the end and we do frequency type and then the comment section first. What do you guys think?
Comment section first.
Just we do the meeting signs last out of those three, then we do the other two first.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So meetings frequency type. Currently, we are doing monthly meetings. Yep. And my understanding continuing with such.
Yeah, I definitely, personally, monthly meetings going forward, I think is an absolute necessity, especially with all the things going on. And I mean, there's still tons of work to be done. You know, the main question for me is the type, right? You know, we sent out the survey in person, online, or, you know, in person or online. And it was, Brooke, if I remember correctly, it was, what did the results come back in? They were pretty down the middle, weren't they?
Yeah. A lot of people said no preference, and it was kind of split all around.
Yeah, where I'm at is obviously I'm a Zoom guy, and I feel like I can be very efficient online because you can share documents, stuff like that. But at the same point, in person is also really beneficial. Get to, you know, meet people, see people, and accommodate everybody. I'd almost wonder if we do a 2-to-1, right? We do, you know, 2 online meetings with 1 in-person meeting every quarter, and just do it like that, so we get a mix of it, and see how it goes. You know, if we do a couple in person and only 1 or 2 homeowners shows up, then hey, maybe we go back to the drawing board. But that's my initial thought.
Hey, Brooke, sorry to cut you off. When we did the revote at the library, right, when we rented that space, it was for what, 2 hours, and sat up to 50, 60 people. How much was that? You remember?
The meeting cost was Let me pull that up real fast.
Great call out, Marcus.
Well, and Cody, I'm with you. I really do. I do think it's necessary, especially now. I just want to be mindful of the cost and see.
Yep. No, yeah, I fully agree.
I would see, maybe it's a smaller room, it's half the cost. I don't know. I don't want to put too much stress on that, but I also don't want to spend too much money either.
And the further, oh, go ahead, Brooke. I'm sorry.
It looks like it was $81. It's about $100.
Okay, that's not much.
So $100. Your annual meeting, just remember, is in person. That will always be in person going forward. So that's just a quick.
Is that set for May?
Well, that would be May, yes.
Okay.
And I think, as I look ahead, let's say hypothetically we went with, at least how I envision it, right? Do the 2-on-1. If that goes well, right? After we do a couple of the in-person meetings, if that goes well and we get enough attendance to make it make sense, then, for me personally, I would think the next step would be do we look at bringing in a way to telecast that in-person meeting for those owners who can't come. But for me, I would want to make sure enough people are going to come to the in-person before we spend any money on setting up, Zoom capabilities for something like that. Cause I know it's not a just show up and put your phone up kind of a thing.
Yeah, that is an extra cost at the parks, Gilbert Parks and Rec. And just an FYI, we at Focus will either do an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting. I can't run both. It's too hard. I can't run an in-person in meeting as well as watching the computer and making sure that we get through the agenda and things like that.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
So, Brooke, the in-person meeting does not have to be broadcast. We could have strictly an in-person meeting, and whoever shows up, great. Whoever doesn't, there's no.
Correct. The only difference is you do have to print agendas for your homeowners while they're there, so that's an added cost of printing.
What happens if there's not enough printed, Brooke? Is there repercussions for the association?
Usually we print about 25 to 50 to cover that. So it's kind of a guesstimate.
Okay. And you couldn't just have the agenda up on a projector?
You can. That is an added cost from the town of Gilbert, just FYI.
What is that cost for the projector itself, or?
The projector itself and having them set it up.
I've got a great laser printer. I can print 25 extra too if we need to.
I've got a projector I could bring with me and have turned on in about 45 seconds. It wouldn't cost a dime.
I just want to give you all the options to let you know everything that goes in.
Right? Like if we, if we did it in person and I was, brought a projector to say we could use this for the meetings, then that eliminates that cost, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I see.
What are you guys thinking? Alex, where are you at?
I'm sorry, where am I at with what? I'm taking notes here.
Oh, so I'm just curious what your guys' feelings are on the meetings. Do we do them all in Zoom? Do we want to do a hybrid? What are you thinking?
Well, okay. So I like the idea of being able to have an occurring meeting that is in person where people are able to speak their voice. We did a poll. That poll result did show that it was a split 50-50. So there is a significant amount of homeowners that are voicing interest in having a meeting in person. So I'm good with it. We can give it a shot for, the 2 or 3 in-person meetings, see if there's a decent turnout. If it's, if we see a regularly occurring pattern that people are not showing up for the in-person meetings, then we reassess it and we just go from there.
So I do want to clarify that the in-person meeting rules are the same as a Zoom meeting. The homeowners do only get to speak when there is a motion on the floor. It's not an open conversation because it's still board of directors meeting where board discusses business. So statute still applies where they only get to speak when there's a motion on the floor.
The annual meeting is different, right?
The annual meeting is their meeting to express all their grievances.
Right.
Or if we had a town hall as
If
well,
you have a
right?
town hall, that's just an open meeting. That's a town hall. The board can attend. The board would not answer any questions. Homeowners just could air their grievances and no discussion would be had from the board to answer back.
So here's my take on it. Just going through the list we've got online now, I think we've got 10, 12 homeowners on now. We've had a few more come and go, but let's just say we had 20 tonight. And this is Zoom. This is in their living room. This is on their phone. How many of you honestly think you're going to make it to the library on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock? I'm not saying we don't do it. I'm just saying I don't want to overthink it, especially if they're not able to participate, the way we have envisioned. I don't know if we just do the annual meeting and really pump that one up and see what the attendance is like, and then kind of plan the in-person from there. Because I'm not sure the engagement, even though we've had a lot of contention in the past 12 months, it's kind of waned. We've got a lot of work to do still, but the involvement's waned a little bit. I don't know what the in-person would look like, and I don't want to go. I'm happy to do it. I just don't know what the participation is going to look like.
I share the same concern that you do, and as a matter of fact, in the name of transparency, I highly doubt very many people are going to show up to these in-person meetings. I fully expect there to be 4 or 5 people that show up aside from the board, and I challenge the community to prove me wrong. You got me on recording right now saying it, so prove me wrong. I would love to see more people show up to the in-person meetings because I want to get to know the people that are genuinely interested in improving our community. If we can establish that relationship, my concern isn't so much about people being able to voice their concerns at the meeting themselves as it is establishing a relationship with the community members that we can then bounce off of from there in order to further develop those relationships. Maybe I have higher aspirations than a board member should. That's just kind of my mindset there. And again, we reassess and go from there is just kind of my thought.
Cody?
I agree with you both. I mean, yeah, I couldn't have said any better myself. I'm torn, right? If we go with the pros 2 and 1, essentially we do an in-person in March and then we'd have the annual. So is that one meeting? I don't know that it's going to make or break us either way. Maybe it gives us a good, feeling for what the rest of the year is going to look like, or maybe we wait. I'm right down the middle. But I also can't help but wonder if it'll allow opportunity for the owners who don't like Zoom or can't do Zoom to come. And we'll get some new faces, who might not just be comfortable with the Zoom platform, because that is also very possible.
I know the board used to have in-person meetings, and my understanding is there was less than 10 people at those meetings.
Yeah. I've talked to other boards and other board members that I know, and it's a common challenge, right? I know I got one friend who they go as far as popcorn machines and all kinds of stuff to try and get people to come to in person. And I think owners, we're either going to come because we want to, or we're not. It's what it is, and that's okay, right? Everyone's got their own opinions, their own life. I'm leaning towards we give it a shot, just because, to Alex's point, half of the voters said yes, and maybe it's a total flop, and we say, hey, we're not going to do this again. I would just say on that meeting agenda, we have evaluate in-person meetings just to see how that one went if we do it in March, and go from there.
So let's see then. So so for February, I have availability, just to get this out there. I have the 12th or the 13th that we could hold your next meeting. And then March, if you want to do an in-person meeting, again, I could do the 12th or 13th.
So that I show that as spring break for both of my kids. So I
Which one?
imagine the March.
March.
So I imagine that impacts most of the families in our community who have
Then,
children. So that's going to work against us,
then
and it
I
wouldn't
could
give us a fair
do
assessment.
Then I don't have the following week. I could do the 26th then of March for an in-person meeting.
What do you guys think? You want to do March 26th, or do we just?
I'm happy. I'm happy to roll with it. It's worth giving it a shot, like you said. I'm happy to do it. So I think if the 26 works with you guys, it works with me. So.
Yep, that works.
I am curious. I would love to get some of the feedback from the people on this call when we motion. But obviously, I'm very would really like to hear some feedback from some of the owners as well. So, yeah, I'd say we tentatively do the March 26th. That's my birthday, so it'll be a fun day. And
Sorry.
it's all right. It's all right. So, one of the things we said was, hey, we're open to do in-person meetings. So if we can't do anything but stand on what we said and what we committed to, then what are we doing, right?
Right.
So,
in February, could we do the 13th instead of the 12th, which is a Thursday?
Board, other rest of the board, does that work for you?
Checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That does work. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I will need a motion to hold the February meeting via Zoom and the March meeting in person, and then we can open up to homeowners.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Marcus.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cody. Any more board discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Tess, asking you to unmute.
Hey, good evening. I just have a suggestion. I think it would be much easier to get a much larger group of participants at a meeting if we set the same day every month. That way people can plan ahead, be it the second Tuesday of the month, the fourth Thursday, or something like that. So we can put it on our calendar and we know when it's going to be ahead of time, and that way we can plan. I think you'll get a much better turnout. That's just my opinion.
That makes sense. Tess, would you be able to make it to the library if we had the in-person meeting in March?
I would love to.
Okay,
If for anything else, I want to get to meet my neighbors.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to do it, because when I first moved here 10 years ago, we had in-person meetings and you really get to meet your neighbors. I think it makes more of a sense of a community when you can get together and see people rather than just hear their voices. I think it'd be great. I definitely plan on going if I can plan ahead and know when they are is the only thing. I think that would really help increase the number of people who showed up.
Okay. Thank you, Tess.
Brooke, now that we've planned out February and March, any reason we can't get that out to the community now with, if we vote to move forward with these dates and what we're doing, hey, community, next 2 meetings are set on these dates and these times, just get ahead of it. Is that possible?
We can send a notice and then it does go on the portal calendar. We can move forward. The problem with why we didn't have a specific date is because originally you guys were quarterly meetings and we didn't, I'm fighting my schedule of previous sets. We could start going on the 26th of March.
Yeah, if we could just plan out the whole year, I mean, why not? If that's an option, is to get it planned out to Tessa's point, right? The more consistent it is, easier it is for everyone to plan.
The fourth Wednesday of every month, I have that date open and we can just continue on with the fourth Wednesday starting the 26th.
I'm good with that.
Same.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, let me just add you guys to my calendar so nobody else takes that day. I was hoping we could get to a date that we could do that. It was just fighting my schedule.
No worries. Yeah, I think maybe on that, maybe we can all, with the board, we can draft something to send out to talk about, hey, we're going to do this same reoccurring now, and we can put something together to send out to the community. I think that'd be really great.
Perfect. We do have Dean asking you to unmute.
Hello. I might have missed the instructions for the community portion. Does it need to be something specific to the agenda?
It does. It would be a comment on the current motion of having one Zoom meeting and one in-person meeting.
Oh, that's the only thing I'm allowed to comment on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I have a comment I want to submit to the board, how do I do that?
Email it to me and then I email it out to them.
Huh. Okay.
Do we want to just have him, Dean, make his comment now, Brooke? We're all here.
That's up to the board.
I would say yes. I mean,
The board would not be able to respond because it's not on the agenda, though.
Okay.
Dean, maybe share your comment, and then if you could email it in to Brooke, then we can get you a response as appropriate, just so we don't get ourselves in trouble with the rules of the meeting.
Yeah, you guys run a tight ship. Okay, yeah, I'll just share my comment. We've had a continued problem with excessive dog barking. I realize that I don't think there's anything in association bylaws or covenants that involve that, but I was thinking it might be nice to draft a memo, a courteous and eloquent memo to homeowners, just reminding them that many people work from home, and it's kind of become a real excessive issue for probably 4 or 5 of the community members just live near me. So I can easily draft a very tactful, courteous memo, and I could pass that on and see if the board would be interested in at least sending that out to homeowners. So,
yeah, please.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Okay. All right. With no other hands raised, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Moving on to the homeowner comment section. Board, you did discuss this with your legal counsel. You were advised that you could add a homeowner comment section. Homeowner could make a comment. You could do a 3-minute comment for a specific set, such as 10% of the membership that shows up to the meeting. But the board would not be able to comment back as that item isn't on the agenda.
Greg, and for the homeowners on here, what we're talking about doing is, right, there's a lot of times a lot of homeowners have comments or topics they want to discuss that are on the agenda. The idea here is to have a kind of a blanket comment sections beginning, or probably the beginning, I would think, of each meeting, where a homeowner or a percentage of the homeowners can comment about anything that they feel is they want to share with the board, like Dean just did. Now we can't respond to it, but it's a good way for us to get feedback, hear hear the owner's thoughts. And so that was kind of the idea behind that. I love the idea, just again, give the owners more of a voice on a regular basis. And that's my spiel.
No motion is needed. We could just add that if the board does, that's something the board wants to do.
Yes, I agree with Cody.
Okay, perfect. I will get that added to the agenda. All right, moving on to the neighborhood meeting signs. I'm assuming that you guys are meaning kind of sandwich board signs for the community. I will say we have had many communities that have had sandwich boards. They end up getting stolen or broken. Even in Paradise Valley, we had them stolen. They're expensive, and somebody usually walks away with them. I'll just preface that.
Any way to chain them to something stationary?
You can. The other thing is that somebody in the community would have to hold on to them and put them out as needed.
Now, Brooke, throughout the community, there are posted signs that say "Welcome to Greenfield Lakes," right? Could we change the message when there's a board meeting the week before and drop a new message in there? Is that possible?
You would have to. Those are made, so they would be changed.
Hmm.
Unless you did like meeting fourth Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. But it just depends on, I'm just trying to think of how you would have one of those.
I've got a couple of houses down. I would take a look at it. So I've never tried to take I've never even looked at it that thoroughly. So maybe it is made to where we can pull it out and stick it in. I don't know.
They are. I've replaced them many times.
Oh, okay.
They are expensive to have made. But so to be specific on a sign,
I see. I got
like
you.
you could go with
Like so the
HOA board meeting fourth Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. Check the portal for in-person versus Zoom. That's just off the top of my head.
And maybe drop those in the Wednesday before, so it's there for a full week. And
Yeah.
then after the meeting, pull that one out, stick the Welcome to Greenfield links back in.
Yeah, there is probably 25 of those signs throughout the community. Just
Okay.
FYI.
Okay.
As I'm listening to you guys talk, I'm circling back to now that we've locked in meeting dates the same day every month, that is going to make it a lot easier for people because it's going to be regular. I'm wondering if getting the sign out there is going to be as big of an issue, right? Because the biggest thing was I didn't know what it was. I don't know when it was because it changes. Well, if it's the same day and time every month, after a couple months of us getting a bunch of blasts out there, I would think that would help with that. So maybe they're not as relevant as they may have been 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So.
A thought crosses my mind about how we can manage this in a more dynamic way, which is we get these signs updated. Our neighborhood used to, I don't know if it still does, but I know that I believe it was Brandon Davison that actually had in our neighborhood had a greenfieldlakeshoa.com or whatever that would direct to a site. If we had a site that was just a portal where it redirects to like the HOA calendar or something, where we can just put a static site, go to greenfieldlakeshoa.com or whatever it is that we pay for and we own, and we just pay a yearly $11 fee for that, then we can point it to whatever we want. And then it can just be updated in a place that we normally update the calendar that homeowners are supposed to look. Just a thought.
I like that idea.
So in order to view the portal calendar, though, you do have to log in to your homeowner portal.
Challenge accepted.
I know that you would, if you can, if anybody can figure it out, it would be you.
The other thing too is, right, is as we get going, we start doing a newsletter. Again, we're putting the meeting dates in there. Though I guarantee within 30 seconds of that newsletter going out, it's going to hit social media. And then people are going to read their emails. So I don't know. Maybe we just keep it digital. And I also don't like the idea of spending money on things right now that aren't
necessary.
Yeah, that's a good word, necessary.
Well, it's not a bad idea, Coach. It's not a bad idea at all. I just, like you said, I think the digital path is probably the best path right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I was the one who suggested the signs, and now I'm talking myself out of it, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So with nothing else on the open agenda, I do need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Marcus.
Second.
I'll third.
Perfect. All in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you to all the homeowners for joining today. Appreciate you guys.
Get it.